Okay, we are ready to go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Tips. Before we get started, before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and type my handle and what we're going to be doing today. Hello, hello. Okay. Can I guess, there we go, pinned it. Ha! First time. All right, figured out how to do that. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So, I guess I'll wait just a little bit to see if more people show up. I won't wait too long. I've got my coffee ready to go. It is, I feel like waiting around, I feel sort of obligated to talk about the weather. It's kind of cold and dreary here today, and it's been pretty dreary, which normally doesn't bother me at all. I love like cloudy, rainy days, but it's been kind of tiring. I don't know. Yeah, I pin! So both slightly, my new little parakeet and I have been pretty sleepy. He's literally sleeping here in the cage next to me. I'll show you real quick here. Can you see him? Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I woke you up, didn't I? I'm sorry. You can go back to sleep now. So it's been a pretty quiet day around here, but I'm really excited to talk to you guys. Yeah, just pretend I'm here in Kensington Gardens. You know, the funny thing is, when we went to Kensington Gardens it was almost a year ago. It was actually fairly sunny, at least the second time we were there. What's up with that? Anyway, so yeah, I'm Gracie Klumpp. I'm an illustrator based out of San Antonio, Texas, and today we are going to talk about drawing with shapes, which is a technique that I use to draw just about anything. It makes things so much easier. I learned this technique actually for animation when I was doing traditional animation in college. I went to Huntington University in Indiana, and Clovis and Slightly, they could be good buddies. He's getting warmed up to being around here. I think he's just super tired. We worked him pretty hard yesterday too. He was doing a lot of training, so he slept a long time. But anyway, so drawing with shapes is something that I learned to use for animation. And it's super helpful in drawing absolutely anything. A lot of people I know, I use this, sorry, that was confusing. I used to teach art, actually, in elementary school. And I use this to teach the kids, but it's really something for everybody. Like the first thing that happens when I introduce myself to someone, and they ask, what do you do? Which, by the way, I kind of hate that as an introductory question. I honestly don't know what would replace it, but sometimes it's so hard to answer. But then I explain, I'm an illustrator or an artist, whatever I think they're going to understand better, and then they're like, oh, the first thing out of their mouth is either, oh, I wish I could do that, or, oh my gosh, I can't even draw a flower or a stick figure. Literally, it's either one of those two things. I usually just kind of laugh and don't really respond. Yeah, I know, it's such a tough question, isn't it, Ray? It's hard, but I get it. I mean, how are people going to get to know you otherwise? I don't know. It's an awkward place to start, but there it is. But anyway, everybody, literally everybody, can learn to draw. Everyone can become technically proficient at drawing. You can, absolutely everyone can. You just have to put in the practice, and there are a few simple tools that you can use to get started, but we'll talk more about that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put my phone on its stand here so you can see more easily what I'm doing. While I'm doing that, if you would like to go ahead and introduce yourselves. I know at least of a bunch of you, but if you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, and I'll get this all set up. Also, now would be a great time. Sorry, that's the sound of my phone holder. Oh, this is more awkward than I expected. Sorry. What was I saying? Oh, you want to see the stand? Sure. So it's like this super cheap gooseneck sand that I got off of Amazon. I think it was like $9. So far it's working so well. It's working pretty well. It just makes like kind of a awkward noise when I'm trying to put this in here. Okay, so at any point let me know if you can't see what I'm doing well enough. I'm going to try and make sure this is lined up well, but sometimes I don't see. Okay, so if y'all want to get some drawing supplies out, I've got just regular old, oh, that's slightly moving around. I've got regular old copy paper. Are you coming out to say hello? Did you wake up? Wow. Which I just used for practice and actually a bunch of my sketches anyway. I've got these pencils, which just came in today. Yay! I've been having a hard time finding pencils that don't break. Faber-Castell is the one that seems to work the best for me, but honestly, guys, you can draw with anything. You don't have to have the right tools. It's okay. But I do like drawing with darker pencils, so I've got 5B here. This is not super, super dark, but it's fairly dark. I really like to do that, and I would recommend that, especially if you're a little nervous getting started. The techniques I'm going to show you guys are super simple, and anybody can use them, so whether you are an experienced pro or you have always wanted to draw but have been scared to do it, these are all for you. These are all for you. So I've also got a kneaded eraser here, which I really like. They're fantastic. You can mold them to erase whatever little or large bits that you need, and you just literally need them in order to get the bits of graphite out of them. So I really like using those. Oh, he just flung a millet seed over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This is, again, a really simple technique that is really just, it makes drawing less scary. It makes it less scary. It's basically using shapes to break down. Just gave one pencil, or I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Ray. But yay! So basically, we're going to use shapes to break down anything. You know, sometimes you're like, okay, so here I've gathered a few knickknacks from around the apartment. This is, I mean, a pretty big knickknack, but you know, you see this and someone's like, draw this for me, or you just really like it and you want to draw it, and you're like, oh, there's all these parts, I don't know if I can draw that well. Oh, kneaded eraser, yeah, those are great. But it's really super simple if you break it down into shapes. So the 3 shapes we're going to use, guys, are the square or rectangle, the circle or oval, and the triangle. And guys, if you haven't seen my work, you know I'm not a like super detail oriented, line everything up perfectly kind of illustrator, artist. So they're a little bit messy, but that's okay. That's totally fine. The point of this is not to get everything exactly right. It's just to help you go ahead and approach things. So here I have this very, very simple little knick-knack here. This is my ode to Liz Lemon on my kitchen shelf. It's just a lemon. So basically what we're going to do is, I know you can laugh, it's okay. We'll get to more complicated stuff later, but really, you got to start somewhere. So on your page, first of all, if you're afraid of drawing, and I know this seems really silly, but if you are, go ahead and make a mark on the page. Just make a little mark. Make a little mid-century kind of thing there. There, something's on the page. You don't have to be scared of it any longer. Okay, so we're going to look at our object. We'll start super simple with this lemon first, and we're just going to break it down into what shapes are there. So obviously, we could just do one sort of oval-y circle there. And by the way, what I like to do with this, you don't have to do it this way, okay? But what I do like to do is draw pretty lightly with a dark pencil. And actually, you could use an even darker pencil than this one. You can tell if it's really dark by the little marking here. This says, oh, can I get it? There we go. This says 5B. If it says H H stands for hard. That means it's going to draw really lightly, which you would think would be a good thing to do for sketching, but it's actually not. You want to draw with a light pressure with a darker pencil, which is denoted by the B, which stands for black, and the higher number means more black. So 5B is darker than 2B, for example. I'm drawing kind of dark so that you guys can see this super easily. Actually, let me turn this light on. Is that better, or is that distracting because of the shadows? I couldn't quite tell because of the, guessing by the hearts from Ray, I'm going to say that maybe that's a little better. Okay, so we've got one kind of ovally circle so far for this lemon. And then, see, we've got these, like, I don't know what these are called. I feel like I should know this. We've got these bumps on either side. Those are kind of ovally circly, too. There we go. We've got the basic shape of the lemon. And from there, we can go ahead and do more of an outline, if outline is what you like to do. That's how I'm approaching this, because that's what I sort of tend to do. And then we'll draw the outline darker and put some texture on there. So here we have our lemon, which is built out of 3 circles, basically. So that's a super, super simple one. Yeah, B stands for black. I know it's a little confusing. You'd think they would go with soft versus hard. I don't know why they decided on that. But softer, I love softer pencils. Actually, most artists that I know draw with really soft pencils. Oh, did you hear that? That was Slightly. He's rustling around and cheeping over here. Hi, buddy. Hello. So basically, we're just going to break things down into shapes. Let's try something that's a little bit more complicated. So I've got this little funky toy car. It's a little mid-century car here. So we'll do that one here. We'll do that next to it. So for starters, we have a really simple shape here too, right? We've got a rectangle. So if we just, draw a rectangle, it can be sloppy. Draw it lightly. Here you've got kind of your basic shape of the car. Oh, good. I'm super glad this is helpful. Sometimes I feel like this is so basic it's not really going to be helpful at all, but I'm very glad that it is. So the point here, the way that we're doing this, is I kind of look at drawing. It's sort of like, you could look at it a couple different ways. I look at it sort of like archaeology. It's kind of like you're finding, oh, sorry, I startled you, bud. It's kind of like you're finding the drawing in there somewhere, and you start with the really big strokes, the really big shapes, right? So you start like digging. Oh, hello, Carolina. Start digging with like really big tools, and then gradually you get down to more detailed parts where you're adding, the darker outline, the little details, that kind of thing. If it helps, that's sort of what we're doing here. So we have the really main base shape here, the rectangle, and then what other shapes do we have here? We've got a sort of triangle. I was going to say triangular and ended up saying triangle, and that was awkward. So we've got kind of a triangle there. So that's easy. We've got basically a rectangle here. It's a little bit wider on the top. That's where the seats go. And then we have whatever this base thing is in the back. And then there's the spare tire. So you can already see it's starting to form itself here. We've got the other tires, which are sort of rounded. They're underneath, but you've got the what is that? The tire covers, fenders, whatever it is, underneath. So they're rounded. So we've got those in there. And from here, we can just keep putting in more details. So we've got the seats. Let's see, is this the right part? Yeah. So the seats are here. We've got, this is the actual part that you sit down on. We've got some detail there. We can start filling that in. We have the grill thing at the front, which from our perspective looks kind of like a rectangle. We've got that there. We've got a rectangle of the bumper. Is that the fender? I don't know cars, you guys. Whatever. I don't know cars. So then we can just start putting in more details. We've got the line down the middle. We've got the little, vent things at the sides. Got little headlights. You just start adding from there after you see those main shapes. Then you already have the basic concept down, so it's a lot easier to see the little details and add all of those in. Whereas just to get started, especially when people try and just start immediately without outlines, it can be so overwhelming. Don't do that to yourself. It's so much easier if you start with the basic shapes first. So much easier. We use this in animation especially to draw the same characters multiple times, you know, from different angles and all of that. Every time you draw them, they need to look the same. So we would use this there too. So here's the car. Oh, we got the steering wheel. Gotta have that. We'll say there's little buttons here. Okay, let's do maybe like one more object. Oh, here's something else I would love to know from you guys. What is something that you have always wanted to draw but have been kind of afraid to or not quite sure how to? Go ahead and pop that in the comments and we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to do, this is Louis, a little mouse that was hanging out with me in the studio like a pet before I actually got a pet. So he's a little bit harder. He's a little person-like. Hands. We can do hands. I've got a whole method handout thing for hands, actually. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, remind me if I forget, Ray. So he's sort of person-like. A lot of people are kind of afraid of doing people, too, but I mean, he's very simple. So we'll get started. I like to do a circle for the head. So we know we've got that there. His body, it's a little hard to see because of his clothing, but it's pretty much a rectangle that just comes straight from his head. His arms are a little rounded. There's like a little rounded end here, but it's basically a rectangle. And the shapes are just kind of suggestions. Think about them more like suggestions. Oh, curly hair, that's a good one too. Technically not with drawing with shapes, but oh my goodness, we could talk about so many different things. We'll get to that. Okay, so then we've got his shorts, which are kind of like two rectangles here. They're sort of, I'm getting ahead of myself by doing details, sorry. So we got a rectangle. I like to put, this is just personal preference, I like to put circles basically wherever there are joints. It just kind of helps me like feel the shape of the object, whatever I'm drawing. It's part of what I like to do. Even though I don't do a lot of rendering, a lot of shading, I like to make sure I have the feel of a three-dimensional thing. And that's one of the ways it helps me with that is doing little circles for joints. So we've got that in the heels. We'll put that on the toes too. Do that here as well. We've got his little tail, which is just sort of an extra little detail there. Go ahead and put where his shirt is. And then for his face, you know, we've got pretty much this triangle shape out here, but it's rounded, so I'll put a little round bit there for his nose. And then we've got these lovely round ears, which one's kind of hiding behind his head. So then we can go ahead and add in our details here. And the thing about this is, what's great is after you finish your details, you can go back in and it's pretty easy, especially with your kneaded eraser, to go ahead and get rid of those light sketchy parts that you did if you want to. I don't usually like to that much. I only do this on places that are pretty important or they look distracting. I like to keep it pretty sketchy, but you can do this and get it nice and clean as long as you drew very lightly with that dark pencil, because you're not, with the dark pencil, you're not grinding that graphite really hard into, hello there, hello. You're not grinding the graphite really hard into the paper, so it's easy to erase too. So here we can just start, oh, I forgot his handkerchief, bandana, which is also basically a triangle. And then we're going to just kind of soften it up to his frame here. And then we can start adding more details. And as you can see, I like drawing pretty messy. That's the thing. So I'm teaching you guys how to draw things in a very sort of technical way, but at the same time, I really don't, I don't know, guys. Anybody can learn how to draw technically very well. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Which it can be a great way to learn how to start, But then, you know, you got to start putting some heart into it too. So if it's just technically impressive, you know, it's not really going to have a whole lot of heart to it. It won't be very stewy. It's just going to be technically proficient, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. Just, you know, once you've kind of figured out the basic layout of things and you feel fairly comfortable with it, then you can start adding your own spin on things. And this is where you kind of start breaking rules on purpose. So there is Louis. There he is. Yeah, loosening up is great. Don't be hard on yourself if you're trying to get to that point, but this is another great way to do that because it's really just one step at a time. You don't have to just look at Louis and say, I'm going to just draw Louis. You can be like, okay, let's start with the circle for his head. Okay, then there's a rectangle. Circles and rectangles, they're easy to draw pretty loose, you know? It's not really a difficult thing. And then you can get more complicated from there. Oh, painting with ink but using a twig. That would be very interesting. I would love to see what that's like. And you can use this technique with any medium. I mean, if you wanted to take a dark pencil and do the, you know, same kind of deal, the rough shapes. This is really rough, guys, but it works. The rough shapes sketch first, really lightly. And then do your line thing over the top. Do your thing. I just said that, I'm sorry. But do it. Go ahead and give it a try. You can always erase it afterwards. Okay, so what were we going to do? Oh, hands. Yeah. Hands, people have a hard time with hands. I completely understand. I do too, guys. I really do too. I actually have a bunch of, this is no pun intended, guys, handouts here that I created when I was teaching art. This is a very long time, well, okay, 4 years ago. It feels like a long time ago. Kind of a long time ago, yeah. But we can use the same basic concept, okay, for doing hands. Let me get a fresh piece of paper here. So I don't know if you can actually read this, and if you can't, it's fine. But we're going to do the same thing where we're going to start with maybe I'll put this here so you can still see it. So if we're going to look at drawing a hand this way, I'll just have my own hand here. So if you're drawing along with me, go ahead and put your own hand out. So if we're applying the drawing with shapes idea to drawing your hand, we've got one very big shape here, which I like to do as a circle. I know, well, at least with my hand, it's kind of more of a square. But when I'm drawing characters, I kind of like to start with a circle. So this is like the palm right here. And then what I tend to do from there is to block out the fingers. And again, it depends on, let's see. Okay, you can draw it exactly the way it is. Or it kind of depends on just how you like to do things. Once you kind of get used to it, you can put your own spin on things and kind of make it however you want. Hello! Hi, Kate! But we'll go ahead and draw it like we're drawing my actual hand here. So after I've got the palm, we've got, you know, if you don't count this part right here, which is not a big enough deal for the moment, we've got kind of a rectangle here. I usually kind of angle that part a little bit because that's what we have going on here. And then I like to put a line, just a really light line where the fingers start. And then you can start roughing in roughly where the fingers are. And this is awkward, guys. Hands are awkward for everybody. For me, my middle finger is a little farther. If it helps, sometimes this helps. You can put little circles at the fingertips. You can also put circles at the knuckles. Sometimes I like to do that. So we'd have circles here along the palm. We've got this really big muscle right here for your thumb, which we'll get to in a minute. And let's see, this finger is a little bit bigger. And I'm just kind of going along there. So it's not great, guys. It's not great, but it's a start. So then to do the thumb, again, we can just put a circle for the pad right here. Oh, you can't see that super well, sorry. So we can just put like an oval there for the pad. And I've got this for like really big awkward though. Again, there's another joint there. And here we have a not great, not super great, but it's there, okay? We've got a hand here. We've started something. We've started something. So that's kind of how you can sort of get started with things. It's if you just start looking at things, breaking them down into smaller pieces, instead of trying to look at it as a whole and going, okay, now I'm going to do the outline of this finger. Oh no, I messed that part up. Now I hate it. Oh, that happens so often. Yeah, sorry. Is he making too much noise? I'm going to move him back a little bit. Buddy, you're having too much fun. You're having too much fun. I'm just kidding. Keep going. It's okay. Let's see. Oh, 10 pairs of hands doing different things. Yes, I did something like that too. It is really difficult. It is something that I do. It's kind of a trick. That probably isn't really, I don't know. It's not necessarily the best thing to do, but I kind of use that like the hand has a mitten. I'll either like sort of include these fingers together, or sometimes all these fingers together. And, oh, you like hearing him? Good, because he is rolling around like a madman right now. He was basically asleep and then got a burst of energy. Hey, buddy. Hi there. Maybe he'll sing for us in a minute. He might like that. So here's another one. Another one super simple. Here's a hand holding a pencil. So, again, we'd just start with the rough shape. And I wish I could model this for you guys, but I don't really know how I would get there. So this is what we're aiming for right here, basically. So we've got sort of a... it kind of depend. We'll talk about this in a second. So we've got kind of an ovally shape here. Or if you want to think about it like two triangles. Because... Oh, hi, buddy. He's a little clumsy. He just landed on the bottom of his cage. And then the knuckles are right here, so we can kind of rough those in. And from there, I don't know why, but I always like to put the index finger in first. And then you can kind of go from there. And really, we're not really going to want this much of a point on there, but the triangle was helpful for us to get started. So it was kind of a helpful way to get started while we do the rest of it. And then we can put in more of our harder lines here. And again, if you want, you can always clean up the lines a little bit, but I kind of like to leave it a little bit messy. I like to leave it a little messy in there. Another thing, I'm just going to go ahead and do the, I know, it's really fun. I just got him. He's been here, oh, there he chirped. He's been here just not even quite a week yet, and he's getting very used to things. So with hands, I'm just going to try and do like, so say there's a butterfly here, and somebody's going to kind of try and catch the butterfly. So I've got a circle for the palm. I've started just sort of roughing in where I want some of the fingers to be. And instead of worrying too much, and again, this is just my approach, guys. You don't have to do it this way. But instead of worrying too much about, like, am I showing every single finger? Is it exactly anatomically correct? I'm just going to kind of get the idea of what I want in there. I'm not super happy with these fingers, but they'll do. They'll do. So there's the other one in there. So it's really just roughing it in. Just getting something down and going from there. Oh, there he goes. Hello. There he goes. Okay, so the other thing I was going to show you, Ray, there was something else that you wanted me to talk about. Oh, hair. Oh, actually, you know what? Before we get to hair, I just want to touch a little bit on this, on shape theory with you guys. So I've got this chameleon here. I've been drawing animals for a couple of weeks, or last week and this week. Anyway, So if I'm going to use shapes to break him down, which I'm going to do pretty fast here, you don't have to be bored by this process. I'm just going to draw, for the point of this exercise, I'm just going to draw him basically exactly as he is in this picture. I'm going to kind of copy this picture for now. So we've got his eye, which is a circle. We've got kind of a triangle here. This is kind of circular. We've got his knees here. We've got the twig. Big circle for his tail. And then we can start putting things in from here. And the more comfortable you get with it, the less you even really notice that you're doing the drawing with shapes. But it really helps. He looks very skeptical. Okay, so I'm gonna, I'll keep drawing while I talk about this. So there's one way to do it. I just drew him basically exactly as he is here. Well, not exactly, obviously. Obviously, he's not exactly like that, but I've got the basic idea from that image, right? But with shapes, there's some very interesting things. Hi, Kaylin. There's some very interesting things that you can do. So we have these three shapes, right? We've got the square or rectangle. We have the circle or oval. And we have the triangle. There are certain associations that we will have with each shape. So things that are kind of square, we'll tend to think of as very strong or stable, right? And things that are more rounded, we'll tend to think of as soft and safe, friendly. Things that are triangular, we'll tend to think of as, they're pointy, right? They're kind of pointy. So we'll see them as dangerous. And in character design, they can be evil, shifty, not very much the opposite of strong and stable. Good, I'm glad you guys are having fun. That's great. This stuff, I could talk about this stuff for a long time. Sometimes I don't get an opportunity much to talk about this much anymore. So it's very exciting. Thanks for letting me do this with you guys. So if we've got the same chameleon, so if we wanted to draw a chameleon that looked very strong and stable, we can use a lot of squares or rectangles with him. So I'm still going to start with a circle for his head. That's kind of just how I tend to do. And his body's going to be this basic rectangle. Even his tail, guys, you don't have to do it this way, but even his tail, I'm going to make it sort of square. And these are just going to be really rough sketches so you guys get the idea. We're going to do the top. Everything is pretty square, except his eye. We'll do his eye. More circle-y. I don't really like the way that I did his legs there. Let me change those real quick. So like even down to his feet, and obviously this is not a great drawing, guys, I'm sorry. But I just want you to get the idea here. That he is very square. That still looks awkward. Why is that? That doesn't quite work. I think I need to bend the other way. I think I had it right the first time. Okay, and here's the thing too. When you get started with a sketch, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Here's a very square. Yeah, it's easy to think of just skipping to the detail, and it's okay, but then it can sort of overwhelm you, and it can sort of freeze you up a little bit. And exactly, you can overthink it a little bit too much, Kate, and it makes it harder on yourself. Don't make it so hard on yourself, guys. Make it easier. Make it easier. This way you can infuse more of your own personality into it and worry less about how to get started. So now we're going to do a really soft, cuddly looking one. So he's going to be very round. So again, I'm just going very, very rounded, like I'm barely even giving him elbows here, guys. Super rounded. Everything's really rounded. Super round. This guy's kind of reminding me of Pascal from Tangled a little bit. Actually, that is a great example, guys. Take a look back at Pascal from Tangled. He is both round and pretty stocky, which sort of makes sense because there are times when he's kind of a tough little dude, and they want you to notice that. So he's actually got a lot of rounded things because they want him to be friendly, but still some stockiness to him. So I really do not like this chameleon. This is a very lame looking chameleon. I'm sorry. But hopefully you can still get the idea. So this guy looks really cute and cuddly and safe and friendly. Okay, now if we draw we'll go down here. If we draw a chameleon that is made of mostly triangles, basically lots of angles here, okay? Lots of angles. And I mean, think of the eyebrow, guys. The, like, typical villain eyebrow is very triangular. We're going to make him even pointier. He looks a little shifty. Probably wouldn't want to cuddle him quite as much as I would want to cuddle this other little round guy up here. So these shapes can come into character design too. And this works for people also. It works for everything, basically. Works for everything. Okay, so now curly hair. We can do that too. Let me grab a sip of coffee. Hello, Brendy. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so now we're going to sort of deviate a little bit from just drawing with shapes. And we're going to move on to doing curly hair, which is something that Ray asked about. We're going to try and make drawing as unscary and fun as possible. So we'll just apply that to curly hair too. Yeah, toughest chameleon on the block, yeah. I like it. Okay, and you guys will get to see how I like to do this with faces too. I really apply this to pretty much everything. So we're just going to go ahead and start with, guess what? A circle. I like to start with circles. So we've got kind of the crown of the head or any hair. Well, you know, if I get to just pick, it is going to be curly, which I know you like too, so I think it'll be fine. And then I do the sides of the face, and then we can do, so we've got like a little round chin, the jawline, we've got ovals for the ears. I mean, already, guys, we've got a face started there. So another thing I like to do when I'm drawing people, and again, this is just a really quick sketch, so I'm sorry, this is not going to be like the best image ever, but it's okay. If you're having a hard time drawing people and like figuring out how to pose them, all that kind of stuff, that's like a whole big other conversation that we could have. But I do like to do, same way I like to do circles for joints, I'll do like an oval for the shoulders, an oval for the hips, and you can start connecting them, and already you know where things are going, right? So it's just a nice way to get started. And again, if you draw it very lightly, you can erase it later if you don't want to have it in there. No problem. No problem. Yes, Phineas and Ferb. Great examples there. Great examples. Okay, so on the face, I always do the whole section it off thing. It just kind of helps me figure out where I want to put things. And it's really helpful, too, for when you're drawing characters like from the side and you want to know where they're looking. So, you know, looking off this way versus full profile looking this way, you know, it can really help with that a lot. So it's just kind of a little assist for you. Yeah, it's super helpful to do that just to kind of help place it for you. Okay, so then I'm going to do just a little circle for where I know I want the nose, which is going to be just below this mark here. And actually, you guys, like, there's a whole... I'm just going to show you these handouts really fast. I made these a long time ago. But there's like a whole system basically to correct facial proportion where you measure everything in eye lengths. So the whole face is about 5 eye lengths wide. The nose is 1. You know, there's a lot of theory behind all of this. Same thing with body proportions. Wow, this drawing is so old, you guys. I made this so long ago. But the same idea. You measure everything with the head. Now, I don't actually end up drawing my people, my characters, using this exact proportion because, you know, rules are made to be broken. It's okay. But it can help you get started. So here's the nose, and I put little circles for the nostrils. I'm going to just start there. I'll make this a happy person. I'm still getting used to drawing with people watching me. It's sort of weird. I feel kind of self-conscious. And it like I can tell when I'm drawing it, I can tell that it's not quite what I would normally do. Like it has this different look to it. But hopefully you guys will still get the idea. Wow, yeah, like what's up with her mouth? I don't really do mouths that way, but anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. Here we are. We're going to give her like a little jumper. Okay, this is not important, Gracie. Not important. Okay, just roughing that in. Roughing her in a little bit here. And she's probably going to be holding a book. I'm not going to go ahead and draw the whole thing, but that's probably where we were going with that. Okay. All right, so we're going to give her super curly hair. Oh, thank you. Yeah, exactly, Brendy. They feel kind of like, oh, you look at it and you're like, this just isn't quite right. Like, it's not exactly what I would normally do with it. It's not exactly the same, but I'm sure I will eventually get used to it. This is a fairly new thing for me, so eventually, I hope, anyway, I hope eventually it will become more natural. Okay, yeah, no, I'm just making a mess down here. Whatever. All right. So, hair. Let's get back to the hair. So I have pretty much always liked to draw bangs. Oh, thank you, Brendy. That's so sweet of you. That's so sweet of you. I am so messy, and you guys, the longer I do this, the messier I get. But I actually like it. One of my artistic, not mentors, that would be amazing, but people I really look up to is Glenn Keane and his stuff. Oh, I have some pictures to show you guys. Okay, Glenn Keane is a Disney artist, was a Disney artist. You will probably definitely recognize his style because he did literally everything we all grew up with. But what I wanted to show you really fast here, look at that. Look at his little drawing with shapes technique here. You can, like, there's almost nothing happening here, but you totally know what that is, right? You totally know what that is. I wish I had some more of them here. I grabbed a couple of these from my files, but It's crazy. Like, look at this. This is a whole separate thing, too. There are so many lines, it is so messy, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on. But you get a sense of it, even though it's so messy. You get a sense of it. Yes, exactly, Fox on the Hound. Yeah, so his work is absolutely amazing. You guys definitely check him out. This is Glenn Keane. Here, I'll write it down. This is Glenn Keane. He is the best. He's the best. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the curly hair. Sorry, Ray. I got distracted. Okay. You know, I'm not really sure I could even break this down for you, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So I guess I do kind of the, like, rough outline of what I'm going to draw first. And then go from there. So start to make more lines. I'm sorry, this process, I haven't really thought about this process for a very long time. What I do like to do is you want to make some full tendrils of hair, if you will. Is that a weird word to use for hair? I don't really know. Strands? Strands is probably better. So that you get this feeling of fullness from it if you actually have full strands where you have lines that go all the way down to the end of the hair and back. This is a little bit crazy. Again, I wasn't actually sure where I was going with this when I started, so I'll actually try another one here and try not to think about it, but I don't know, it's a little weird. Okay, let me just do this really fast. Let me try another one here. We'll just go super quickly. Can't go quite as fast on the eyes. I always have to stop myself there. Hi, buddy. Hi, Slightly. Okay, so let's do really big curly hair here. Well, I guess this is sort of more wavy. Okay, so we've got the basic shape of... sorry, I'm getting distracted. We've got the basic shape of the hair here. I know I'm going to have it in roughly here. And then one thing you can do, you can approach this multiple ways. And guys, there's no one method that's going to be like the thing that you have to do. Okay? But just try everything and see what works. So I'll use my basic shape here to start filling in actual strands of hair. And again, like I was saying before, this still feels weird to me, guys. I'm sorry. It must just be because I'm doing this live, I guess, maybe, or I wasn't really in the zone, you know, in the flow of things. Still looks a little bit odd, but so you kind of do have an outline. And sometimes if it's looking a little bit too crazy, like this one up here, you can go ahead and do a bit of a harder outline, which sort of defines pieces of it a little bit more. This one's still like really crazy. I don't know, guys. What do I do for hair? This doesn't seem quite right. It doesn't seem quite right. Hopefully that's close enough. Yeah, it is. It is kind of hard to have to talk and draw at the same time. I don't know, and I feel like I should just keep trying it here to see what works. Let's do somebody with an afro. Okay, so we've got this really rough, big outline. I'm not going to bother drawing the rest of the face right now, but we'll make them happy. Okay, and then with the afro, like, go nuts with the curliness on the outside. I do know this is how I do afros. And then on the inside, you don't necessarily have to fill in every space, but just kind of go blah, 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 with the curls. Hopefully you know what that means, because that wasn't really a word. And then you can actually kind of shade it in if you want to. I don't know. I've been doing some more sort of shading some things. Not really like as in, oh, this part's shadowed, so I'm going to shade it. Hi, buddy. But more like this part's darker, and I'm actually going to use the graphite as part of the way that I color this rather than doing it digitally later, that kind of thing. The sloth guy has... Oh, yeah, thank you. What does the sloth guy look like? I'm trying to remember. I'm just going to... Let me know if you want me to stop, guys, but I just feel like I need to get this. I feel like I need to get this right now. I don't feel like it's totally working. Yeah, okay, yeah, I do tend to do the outside kind of curly and then just kind of fill in some strands from there. And you do want it to, like I said, you do want some to really line up because then you get a sense of thicker hair. Okay, this is more like it. Right? Right? This is more like that guy. I don't know why. Sometimes it's easier for me to draw them looking over. Made up word noise in the front. Yeah. This is how I do. Welcome to the studio, guys. Welcome. If you guys can only hear me. I'm in here by myself all day. I'll make up crazy words for all sorts of things. Yeah, okay, so that worked a little bit better. A little bit. I still feel like it's a little off, but I think you get the idea. I think you get the idea there. Yeah. So, really, any of you can draw absolutely anything. Absolutely anything. You just have to break it down for yourself. Make it less scary. Make it less scary so you can focus more on the part of the process that involves you being you on the page. Oh, what about pin curls? Pin curls, like, I feel like I should know what that looks like. Can you describe that more to me? Or let me look. I can look it up too. I really feel like I should know what that looks like. My memory is so bad right now, you guys. I'm sorry. But I'm going to look that up. I'm going to get a reference picture. Sorry, my lemon is rocking around on here. Images full of pin curls. Oh, super curly. You mean like when they're in? Like when you have them pinned up and like drawing that part, or when they're just like, okay, never mind. I'll just go ahead. Okay. Oh, like Wendy. The Disney Wendy. Okay, sure. Sure. Absolutely. We can do Disney Wendy. No problemo. Oh, this one's cute. No problemo. Okay. Alright, so. Here we've got her. Boy. Okay. I think I'm just getting a little overwhelmed, guys. Alright. Calm down, Gracie. Just draw. Just draw. Okay. Rough face shape. Oh, by the way, heads at the back tend to stick out more. I mean, y'all probably know that because you see it all the time. Oh, not like Wendy. Okay. 47. Well, she's sort of it. She has like the curls at the back. Okay, but you mean like victory rolls? Victory rolls we can absolutely do. So I tend to start those by doing more like the top curl part. And then, so we've got the basic hair shape here. Am I doing this part right? I'm not quite sure actually how the inside goes. Like the bottom part. Let me know if I'm doing that right. Okay, so we've got the basic, like you can see where the hair curls in here. And I'm an outline gal. I like doing that. It sort of gives some clarity here. So we have the rough idea. Hey, it's okay, Sweet Little Wood. You can come back and rewatch this later. Thanks so much for popping in. Okay, so we're going to keep going. And again, same thing. We're going to just fill in some of the strands here. And one thing, what would the front look like? There'd be bangs. There'd be bangs. I don't know, you guys. Okay, I gotta look up victory rolls now. I didn't have this is what I get for starting without a reference image. Victory rolls. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so mostly just up. Actually, I did more like this. Okay, so I know it looks kind of harsh right now, but we'll make it a little better. So basically, you want to have strands that go along from where you can start to see them all the way to the end of the hair. And then if you want it to look really thick, you can fill in a couple of them and make more of them and fill a couple of them in. This also depends on how you like to color too. Like if you like to color digitally, or really anyway actually, if you want the color to show through really well, then you're not going to want to do this quite as much. I personally don't mind, like if my graphite is pretty much covering things that are just going to be really dark anyway, it doesn't really bother me. This hair is a little bit crazy. I don't know it's quite right, but she's like not quite facing the right way here either. Oh wow, yeah. No, I was too much from one side. I was looking at it at an angle. Guys, normally I'm like right on top of my drawing, so it feels sort of weird to be farther away from it. I don't have this part right. It like comes from the top. All right, I'm going to draw over it a little bit here to try and get this better. Okay, still not that awesome, but I think you get the concept. I hope you get the concept anyway. So let's see, what would her... Those giant shoulders. Okay, something like that. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, rockabilly hair, that's another way. I feel like I didn't do a super great job, but, oh, you know what, guys? We are almost out of time. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We are almost out of time, so just as a quick reminder, guys, make it easy on yourselves. Start with a marker on the page if you're scared. And then to get started, break things down to the shapes. Squares or rectangles, circles or ovals, or triangles. It's a really easy way to get started. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Here, I'll say goodbye this way. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for coming and drawing with me today. I wish I could stay longer, but I'm about out of time. So you guys are the best. I'll see you later. Good luck drawing. Have so much fun. Don't be hard on yourselves. Draw light with a dark pencil and just go for it. Just go for it. You guys are the best. Mwah!